Hello, dreamers, doers, believers, and achievers. I'm Dwayne Shigg, and this is Talk About It. We are here tonight to have a conversation, have a discussion, have some things that's going to talk about some things that's going to help everybody. And so we've been talking all month about mental health. And if you missed any of the shows, you can go to YouTube and find Talking Book with Dwayne Shigg. We talked about mental health. Just a regular conversation, introductory, and then we talked about mental health and ministry. And tonight, we're talking about mental health and men. That's right. We're going to talk about mental health from a testosterone-ish perspective. And so we're going to do that, and I'm grateful for the gentlemen that have joined us tonight. And if you know somebody, if you know a man, if you love a man, why don't you text them, call them, and let them know that there's a subject for them to tune into, and it's going to help them. I know sometimes as guys, we want to be all tough and macho, and we don't want to deal with certain things, but you need to be a part of this conversation tonight. And so, excuse me if it looks like I'm not paying attention. I'm being host and engineer on 3 different platforms, and I'm not that good at it, but I'm going to do it. And if I hadn't said nothing, hopefully you wouldn't have known that I was not that good at it. But we're going to rock and roll, amen? I've got some very good people here tonight, this evening, this morning, whatever part of the country you're in, that's going to help us help each other. And so I want to introduce them and have them just give a little bit about themselves. Author, motivational speaker, and he bills himself as your favorite play cousin, Mr. Wendell Jones. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Just give us a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff before we jump in.
My name is Wendell Jones. I'm a motivational speaker. I grew up in South Central LA, where I faced many struggles like most people in the community, where I was able to overcome these obstacles, and now I go back and share principles to the world on how they can overcome things that they're going through. So that's a little bit about me. So thank you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Glad to have you here. Minister Steve Hudai, awesome young man, awesome speaker, one that has mentored, helped a lot of young men. And so he's with us tonight. Minister Hudai, how are you, sir?
All is well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just give us a brief introduction, talk to us a little bit, tell us about yourself.
Okay, this is the part I don't like, but I'm who I am, who I, you know what I mean? 52 years old. Well, I keep saying my age, 2 reasons. 1, because of the gray, and 2 is because I feel like I'm just now figuring this mental stuff out. Probably, like I grew up in South Central also. Probably had what some would seem to be a normal childhood, but it did something to me. It created blocks in my life that I'm just now figuring out. It created this and that. God called me to the ministry, so now I know my assignment is to keep helping myself, help others, and through the word of Christ.
That's good. Keep helping yourself, help others. I like the way you phrase that. I like that. And so we've got some gentlemen that know from a variety of perspectives. And so tonight we're going to be talking about that. I want to define dictionary definition of mental health. It says a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. A person's condition in regards to their psychological and emotional well-being, and some definitions include social in there. And so I'm going to jump in. Those of you that know me know I'm not, very diplomatic. We're going to jump right into the deep water. We're here to talk about it because in our community, and then even more specific with men, we don't like to talk about mental health. We don't like to talk about the issue, the problem that we have, or the problems we may have. And so, variety of reasons. But I want to ask you, I want to start with Steve and then go to Wendell. what would you say from personal experience or anything? What are some of the give me one or two stigmas that may keep guys from talking about or dealing with mental health issues?
Okay, I think the biggest, especially if you're in an urban area, a lot of people see it as weakness to get help, and actually, it's the total opposite.
Wow.
You're weak if you need help. You should be able to push through. You should be able. You're a man. You don't need anybody. Why do you need somebody? You need somebody because something inside of you is broken that needs to be fixed, and usually it's only fixed by a professional. Some of the things I did was self-help, but you can do with professionals. It's something that's broken that you need to get fixed. And I think the biggest stigma that I knew of was if you went to see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, whoever, you were weak. You were considered a real weak man.
Ah, very good. Wendell, now you speak in front of people all the time. And so from a personal and or professional perspective, same question. What would you say, in addition to what Steve said, are some of the stigmas that keep guys from talking about even dealing with mental health issues?
Minister Steve, I think that was great, the point that you made. And I want to add to that by saying when you go get help, especially coming from the inner city that I came from, if you went to go seek help, you were considered crazy. And no one wants to be seen as crazy. So what we will do is, instead of going to fix something that we know is broken within inside of us, we'll just leave it alone and act like it's not there and find ways to cover it up or patch it up so other people don't see it, even though we feel it.
Oh, wait a minute. So other people don't see it, even though we feel it.
Yes.
So,
yes. And because that's the thing. We'll try our best to mask the very things that's going on the inside of us, not because we don't feel the pain. It's because we don't want to feel the criticism of other people. So we're more afraid of criticism than we are of getting help.
Wow. We are more afraid of criticism and the label people put on us than we are of getting help. I like that. I like that. And I was watching a interview with Chris Rock, and he talked about how he's a beast, he's a monster on stage, but off stage he's got insecurity issues and low self-esteem. Now, you would never think this of Chris Rock,
right?
And he talked about some traumas that he had coming up. Talked about some, and got to some real detailed stuff about coming up and not dealing with trauma. And sometimes we don't deal with the trauma. And so once again, for both of you, starting with Wendell and then Minister Steve, in your estimation, experience, observation, what are some factors that may affect men more that can fuel mental health issues? So what are some men issues, some things about men specifically that could fuel mental health issues? And before we continue, what we're going to do on this show, we're going to talk cause and cure. Because those of you that know me know I like to talk about what's wrong only if we're going to talk about what we're going to do about it. Because it doesn't do anybody any good to say, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Okay, tell me what to do about it. So again, personal, professional, experiential, what are some factors that may affect men more that can fuel mental health issues?
For me personally, and what I've seen from people that I've talked to, it's the fact that men, especially men who care about the people around them, they try to take care of everyone but themselves. They rather carry the load and the weight of everyone else, if it's their parents, if it's their siblings, anyone, to make the load easier on someone else. So we'll carry whatever we have to carry. We'll put whatever we need to put in the backpack. And even though it's weighing us down, we're going to carry it and make ourselves look stronger than what we are.
Right.
At moments you probably want to break down and cry. You're frustrated. You want to scream and yell, but you just learn to carry the backpack no matter how much you get put on you.
What do you? I want to ask you the same question, Steve. But Wendell, where do you think that comes from? That ideology, that thinking. Okay, I'll just, I got to put it on me. I got to take care of my mama, my daddy, my wife, my son, my neighbor, my homies. Even though my back is hurting, but I got to do it. So where do you think that comes from?
But I think this is something that's gone on for so long, and I believe it happens. I believe back in slavery, where you had to carry the load for the family, no matter how hard you was getting beat, no matter how much struggle you were going through. You had to do whatever you had to do to show the women around you that I was strong, because you felt weak in so many ways because of how they done you. And what happens is we don't realize, if I'm taught or I do one thing, even if I hope my kids don't do it, even if I tell them to not do it, they're going to repeat the same thing that I'm doing. For instance, my sister, she loved baking, and one day she was baking some cookies, and she would always tell my nephew not to go touch the cookies.
Right.
And one day she went in the bathroom, and my nephew went in the kitchen, and he touched the stove.
Right.
And he touched the stove, and he burnt his hands. And he didn't burn his hands because he was being disobedient. He burnt his hands because he seen his mother do it. And that's the same way with men. We see other men carrying stuff that's too heavy for them. So we feel like we have to do whatever we have to do to fit in because we don't want to look like a weak man.
Going back to what you said earlier, we're more scared of the criticism.
Yes.
The pain.
Yeah.
Minister Steve, same thing. What are some factors, maybe from personal experience or people that you've dealt with, that may affect men more, that can fuel mental health issues? Remembering mental health, dealing with a person's condition regarding their psychological or emotional well-being.
Okay, I think tonight I'm going to keep using the word broken because that's actually what it is. Wendell, thank you, man. You hit all the points I was thinking about, all the stuff we hear about. Thank you for articulating it well, sir. So now I wrote down a couple things in the ministry, in the streets, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the ministry. We're going to talk about the streets. In the ministry, you're the head, regardless. Even if you don't recognize that for the streets. In the streets, you're the head. Regardless, God doesn't ask me why my wife, I'm gonna take that back. Why is this a such and such way? He don't go ask my wife. He asks me. That's my responsibility. And as Wendell said, you can't be weak when you have now a wife that you have to take care of plus kids.
Right.
And it was so funny that you mentioned the story about the kid doing what their parents what they see their parents do. This is one of the things I circled. I put kids because they're always watching you. Just like when you see a kid that didn't know his dad, you might know his dad, and you see the kid, and you're like, man, you act just like your pops, because it's already in us. And that's another thing, it's in us. My dad was in the war. He wasn't so touchy-feely until I came around. So I'm sure my brother and them got be hard, be a man, be a man, be a man. Take this. So when you keep taught that, if you go outside, you get treated a certain way, you get treated not so manly. So then you hold it in, like you're saying, and that's what creates all the problems, is holding it in. Now you look like to your wife, you're the weaker vessel. And that throws off the whole dynamic of the family and the household, because she has to be the stronger vessel, just like you talked about in slavery time. If I spoke out, if I said something, that was a whipping, I'm probably going to be sold. So we had to do whatever we had to do to keep our families together. And now we're doing whatever we have to do to keep our families and our communities together.
Right. Yeah.
And you never know, because somebody's always watching. Somebody's always watching you. That's another reason why you can't show weakness, because somebody's always watching. I have a whole lot of little friends, little homeboys now that they're men with their families telling me, thank you for being an example. I didn't know I was being an example. I was just trying to be the best me I was being.
Okay. Yeah. Being people watching, and the role of husband, father, if it's in ministry, leader, if it's in sports, you the captain of the team, or whatever the case may be, or you the jock. So all of those things, and those things are specific to, men, that fuel that can affect that emotional and psychological well-being. And so that's very, very significant. And we've got to be able to look at those things and admit those things to us, to ourselves. Because I often tell people, you cannot fix what you will not face. Oftentimes we won't face it because of the things that you talked about, Wendell. We're more fearful of what the fellows on the block are going to say than the pain of having the problem that I have. And so, Steve, you mentioned we talked, and you've talked before about your own mental struggles, mental issues, mental problems. How did you know that you needed help, that something was off?
Okay, it took a long time. I would do like airheadish stuff, and I would always say, man, something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me, until I got to the point of like, wait a minute, it's really something wrong with me. Meaning, you know yourself, you know how you are, you know you. Just like when you look in the mirror. At first, when all this gray came, that wasn't me. I was like, but I learned to embrace that. You know you. So what I meant by that is I was doing dumb stuff, silly things that didn't make sense. Like I would tease people and say I had two brains, because that's how I felt. I had a grown brain and I still had that little kid brain. And I figured I had it, that went through all that trauma because he never grew up. All right, since we're gonna keep it real, we're gonna keep it about 75% real. My mom made a what she thought was a good decision, turned out to be a bad decision on his part. She married an abusive alcoholic guy. And impressionable years, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 was the time that we were a family unit. And it was just the opposite of everything I know. Fussing and fighting and real fighting, fussing.
Okay.
Seemed like on a daily basis.
Right.
And this is going to be real important for who listening. Him, the guy she married, her brother touched me in some kind of way. The reason why I say some kind of way is I don't remember exactly what happened.
Right.
I remember him saying when he woke up in the morning, I thought I was gonna have to leave. I remember him fondling my butt. I remember him saying, if he don't let me do whatever, he's gonna do it to my little brother, which is like 7, 8 years younger than I am.
Hold on 1 second, Steve. Hold on 1 second. Don't forget your thought. But I thought about what Wendell said, and you just gave an example of it. Willing to deal with the pain so that I can carry or protect somebody else.
And that protection was my brother and my mom.
Okay.
Because had I told any males in my family about that, I know what it would have looked like.
Yeah.
So I had to hold this and swallow this and take this. And what I mean this is just not being able to tell a soul.
Okay.
So eventually that eats up everything. I was this nice little, hey, hi, what's up, little kid.
Right.
And then I forgot, and then we moved from somewhere that I felt safe to the dead in smack middle of a blood gang when gangs was first starting.
Okay.
So now I have this going on in the house, this crazy man over here. I lived in the blood neighborhood. The school was in the Crip neighborhood. So I got sweated both ways going to school.
Right.
Just graduating from the 6th grade. Some people was built for that. I wasn't at the time.
Right.
So that started to change my persona. My persona had to change from this nice guy to this hard guy. This exterior, something that I'm really not. But I had to become in order, like Wendell said, to survive.
Right. The mask.
just to survive. So you mask and you mask and you mask and you mask and you mask till you can't mask anymore.
Wow.
And the reason why I knew I had a problem is because I just wasn't myself. I was always out of sorts. Wasn't right with my kids, wasn't right with my wife. Not saying I was just doing silly stuff, but I just, like a solid foundation of your thoughts. I didn't even have that anymore.
Love that, love that, love that. The masculinity. Wendell, I want to ask you a question. I was recently reading an article on mental health for men, and the writer talked about what he described as toxic masculinity. And we talked about, the Steve talked about the hardness. You talked about wanting to carry. How do we balance from, because you speak to a lot of people, you said where you grew up. How do you balance, if this is from a personal perspective or observational, but how do you balance the not wanting to be, wimpy and whiny? Because, life happens, tough stuff happens to men, but just because tough stuff happened to you doesn't mean it's trauma. Some of it is just life. Okay, you got to work 2 jobs. That's not traumatic. That's just what you got to do to pay the house note, or whatever the case may be. But you don't want to be whiny about that or wimpy, because one of the worst things in the world. I can't stand whiny men. One of the worst things in the world. But so you don't want to be whiny, but you don't want to be walking wounded. I got to take it. I got to take. So from any personal experience, any experience of professional as a speaker, how if it's personal, how have you been able to balance, or how would you suggest someone balance not being wimpy and whiny, but not being the walking wounded, if that makes sense?
At one point in my life, I was both.
Ooh.
I was both, and I was both doing large part that I kept trying to fix what I consider who I was in a broken mirror.
Oh, man. Wait a minute, Wendell. I got to find my pen. What did you just say?
I was trying to fix who I was in a broken mirror.
Wow.
It had many cracks within the mirror, but because of where I was and where I grew up, it made me feel like I had to be that. So I tried to put things on me to make me feel like I was this way. So I would whine about stuff and be upset about things when it came to when I got married with my wife, about things that I supposed to been able to carry or handle or be able to take on, but I couldn't take it on because the neighborhood that I come from is reactive.
Oh, yes.
It was in a reactive environment. So because I fixed myself in a reactive way, anytime we would have a conversation, she could ask me a question or ask me something about myself, I would become very reactive. Why you do this? Why? And I'll be frustrated, instead of now over time where I've been able to work on myself. I've been able to develop myself. I've been able to get a mirror that's not broken and start to work on myself. Now I'm not so reactive at times where I used to be reactive. I used to argue and be argumentative, like little conversations that should have been, hey, what is this? Becomes this whole thing where we may not be talking for 2 or 3 days.
Wow. So what caused you to be able to make that transition or realization that, okay, the mirror's broken. So where I'm trying to fix this is not really something I need to fix, or the transition that you talked about, from fixing yourself. Did something happen to cause you to make that? Did you have a da-da-da moment, or how did you get to that point? Like I asked Steve, how did he know he needed help? How did you know you needed to make that shift?
And it wasn't just one thing. And I think that's what we try to get the answer, try to make it into one thing. But it was a series of things that happened through the course of my life. It was a series of failures and missteps and misstarts that I had, or getting around men that I thought that I believe were whole, and And taking all these different moments and sitting back and reflecting on these moments allowed me to realize that Wendell, something wrong.
Okay.
Wendell, something going on that needs to be fixed. Because if you've seen this same trait in somebody else, you'll be upset about that. But you carry that trait and you're okay with it.
Woo, wait a minute. Let that simmer for a while. Unpack that a little bit.
So what happens is it's been times where in the past where me and my wife see a guy doing a certain thing or a couple arguing about a certain thing, and we go talk about it and be like, he's crazy for that. And then I'll come back and I'll do the same thing.
Okay.
So I'll be very argumentative, like, why are they even arguing? That's little. But I'll come back and do it. But it was them type moments, it was them situations where I was able to sit back and recognize, like, hey, something wrong, Wendell. Some need to be fixed. And by really taking time and reflecting on my life, I think the biggest therapy that's been for me is being able to get out and share my story, share my life. I learn more from my story than I believe other people do.
Really?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Because it's stuff that happened at the time. It seemed natural. Like, this is what's supposed to go on.
Right.
But as I replay it in my mind, I'm like, something wrong with that.
Right. Very good. So, and one of our viewers said that it was a woman. She said, "You're blessing me right now. I wish more men were free enough to share their process."
Yeah, but I think it took time. I think initially when I first decided to go tell people that I was dyslexic, like a lot of people, if you see me off the cuff, you would know that I was dyslexic. But I know that I'm dyslexic. And it made me struggle in different areas that the average person wouldn't struggle. So initially, I was afraid to tell that story. But I knew it was times where I needed help. And I know it's other people in this world who needed help. So I went past my fears to get to where I needed to be. Because I believe we all have what I consider is I want to be right syndrome.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is no one gets in a conversation and wants to be wrong.
Wow.
So what happens is when you tell yourself something, because your mind is meant to protect you, it's going to show you why you're right.
Okay.
So what happens is if you tell yourself, Wendell, you're dyslexic, you're stupid, your mind is going to show you every which way that you're stupid, that you don't have it. Look, Wendell, you don't make enough money. It'll show you all the reasons why you're right.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I learned to change the conversations that I was having with myself that the things within me changed.
Okay. Minister Steve.
Yes, sir.
We're going to go to break in a little while, but Wendell talked about, what caused him to be able to make the change and tell his story. A guy from where you're from, it's not going to be that easy to open up and say, well, somebody touched me. I'm having mental issues. What helped you get to the point where you can tell your story? Because from our conversations and different things, you don't have any problem telling your story. I mean, you're not putting it on CNN, but you're not afraid to talk about it. So that would seem like something, going back to what Wendell said, that would seem like something that would be a problem because, real brothers don't have those problems. Real brothers ain't like that. So how did you get to the point where you were okay? Was there a series of things, like Wendell said, not one thing, but how did you get to the point where you were okay to tell it?
Okay, now let's be so honest right now, and I should have said this a long time ago. My best friend in the world, my co-pastor, besides my wife, my co-pastor, Kimberly Irvin, she sat down with me at church while she was trying to get the church back in order, being an administrator. She sat down with me in between papers and people, and she helped me get to the core of what was really going on. I'm going to keep it 100. I even slipped a cuss word out to my sweet co-pastor, and she reiterated the cuss word that I said in her sweet little voice. But she said I was just telling her all the stuff that was going on. Like Wendell said, no, it's your life. It's your life. It's your life worth of things. It's not just one thing. So I was telling her all that stuff. She said it was like a snow globe, right? And you see all that stuff when you shake up a snow globe. I said, that's a lot of beat. And she said in your voice, that is a lot of beat. But let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take these particles, put them into pieces, and we're going to chop them up. Wow. And that's exactly what she did for me. So with that, it freed me from what I thought I should be, what I thought people thought of me, all those other stigmas that we have, all those bondages that we have that we can easily help somebody out just by telling our story. Our story might not have nothing to do with their story, but it has to do with the way we think, the way we are, how we want to be. So if somebody sees you're able to say, yeah, I was touched. I was a kid. I have a wife. We just celebrated 24 years of marriage yesterday. I'm still on the way from that. You feel what I'm saying? So I didn't become a super womanizer. I didn't want to keep liking what that was, even though I don't remember it, thank God. And because I am the head, God put shelters around us. Because like I said, I don't remember. I just suppressed this from, say, 11 till 44 years old. I'm just now really dealing with this.
Wow.
This is in the 8th year of us really realizing what the problem was. We have 6 a.m. men's prayer. Not a lot of men come, but Bishop has that prayer for me. It was for me. While praying at 6 o'clock in the morning, God brought back all that trauma that happened in that house. Plus the situation I speak on oh boy touching me. So then when it was time for God to put me with co-pastor, I had some fuel to give her that she can fix me. You know what I mean? Because I was broken. I was broken. And Wendell, the best thing, you blessed me tonight. How you blessed me the most is when you talked about the conversations with your wife. when you blow up on little bitty things. Sometimes I still do it, not as much. But it's because of that brokenness that you're not being the man that she deserves. Because you were taught the total different. Well, actually, with me, I seen the total opposite. So I'm trying my best to be nothing like he was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's I'm sorry, but that's like probably one of my biggest goals. That my kids will look at me and say, he made it through all that stuff. My son is 28 now. So he's the age that I was when I got married. So now he's having parallels like, you didn't know what you were doing. No, but I worked it out. 2 great kids, wonderful wife. I think I'm all right. I think I'm all right. Still need a lot of help. Still need and this is something I wrote down. I don't know if this is the time for it. Dr. Shigg, but my brain, sometimes I got to say it when it's on my mind.
Go ahead.
The first thing we have to do is, like you said, face it. If we don't face it, we can never fix it.
Right. Exactly.
You have to face it. You can't just because you had a rough childhood, you're the one that cusses everybody out and act crazy everywhere you go and blame it on that. Okay, you can't blame it on your child. You have to say, you know what? Let me look back. It's me. It's even when it's not me. Sometimes I sit back and assess what's going on and see if it's me. Okay. Because if I get into it with you and you, it has to be me.
The common denominator.
So you have to be able to check yourself for real. I looked myself dead in the mirror. I looked myself dead in the mirror, seriously, and said, "Stop being a female dog, man up." And that's when I started to get the help and read books. And a lot of the people that I went to, unfortunately, they wanted me to know how smart they were more than trying to help me. So I got books and started helping myself. So one of the things is generalized anxiety disorder is what I felt like I had, because I'm looking at the symptoms and I got 7 out of 10. So then I was like, what helps with this? What helps with this? I got another book, 8 Things Every Man Should Know About Depression. And that book is what changed my life. It's only 106 pages.
Wow. Depression.
That book, 8 things every man, and they have one for women. 8 things every man or woman needs to know about depression, and that's what start to free me. Because like I said, I'm not delivered, but I'm delivered enough to be of help.
Now, Minister Steve, you are a very respectful person, so I know you're not going to go off on me in public, but
No.
But I'm getting ready to say something.
Okay.
You're going to appreciate it, but you're not going to like it.
Okay.
You've got to write that book.
You're not the only one, sir.
I know I'm not, but you got to do it and stop saying, yeah, I know I'm supposed to do it. I know I'm supposed to do it. You know you're supposed to do it, so do it.
Well, I'm on assignment, and I'm just blessings are raining down on me. So you see me, I haven't said no to anything. So I guess, okay, I will start.
Okay, and we're gonna get there and deal with that. I want to ask a question, but I'll need to take this break right quick. If you just started watching us, this is Talk About It with my guest, Minister Steve Hudai, and author, motivational speaker Wendell Jones, and we're talking about mental health and men. And you mentioned co-pastor Kim. She was on the show last week. If you missed any of the shows, you can go to Facebook, my name, or Your Encouragement, or YouTube. Talk About It with Dwayne Shigg, and you can get our show from last week, mental health and ministry. On our very first show, we had 2 therapists on there, and so you need to go back and get those and watch those. This show, along with those, is brought to you in part by my latest book, Encouragements for Tough Times. And mental health, you can be dealing with some tough times, and so this book is going to be of help to you because it says encouragement. And I tell people sometimes you need a breath mint, sometimes you need an encouragement. One is for your mouth, the other one's for your mind. And motivational message in here, one is called Courageous Confidence, and there's a message in here called What Are You Looking At? And one called I Can't Sing. And that helps us focus on what we can do, because when we get in trouble, we start thinking about what we cannot do. But focus on what we can do. I can't sing, but I can do some things. I can write to help other people. And also, every chapter starts with an encouragement quote, or like the one on page 25, it says, be directed by destination and not frozen in frustration. So you can get your copy at Amazon.com. If you don't remember anything about the book, just remember my last name. You can go to Amazon.com, and in the browser, just put Shigg in. You won't get lost. There's only 3 authors on Amazon named Shigg. Me, my brother, and my cousin. So you won't get lost. And so you can even buy some of their stuff. I'll just make them give me a cut. But you can get your copy at Amazon.com. This is Talk About It, and we're dealing with mental health in men. And I want to ask you, Wendell, you're a motivational speaker, very good motivational speaker. Yeah. He has his motivational moments that he does. The one today about it was either today or yesterday, about your destination takes time. So you got to, it don't just happen because you want it. And the other one about passion. It don't just happen because it's your desire. You got to do something. That was really good. So you all need to check him out. But I want to ask you, as a motivational speaker, there are some basic principles that we as motivational speakers use, and principles are true no matter, who you are. But can you think of maybe 1 or 2 principles that you talk to people about in your encouraging and your motivation that would be applicable and help us as men better deal with our mental health issues? And some of them even keep us from going to mental illness, because I learned last week there's a difference between mental health and mental illness. So what give us maybe 1 or 2 of the motivational principles that would help us fellas in dealing with our mental health.
The first thing I would say is that I've learned to be with myself as patient. I think we feel like we have to get whatever it is done right away. And what I've come to realize by speaking myself and hearing other speakers speak, what am I rushing to? Where am I trying to go? I'm not trying to rush to an early grave. So because I'm not trying to rush to an early grave, I have the patience. I should have the time and patience for myself to be okay to get past and get through whatever I'm dealing with. A lot of times for men, our frustration comes from the fact that we want to be able to provide more for our families. We want to do more for the people around us. And because of that, we a lot of times get impatient with ourselves.
Right.
So what I've come to realize is I tell people, for each and every one of you watching, if I told you I was going to give you $1 million right now, how excited would you be?
Yeah, very. Yeah.
You probably would be over excited. But what if I told you, if I gave you that $1 million, you could never wake up again? How important would that $1 million be?
Right.
So what I've come to realize is the $1 million, the bills, whatever we're facing is not more important than waking up. So the first thing we have to do is get excited about waking up.
Wendell.
And if we can get excited about waking up, we can start to see the opportunities that lie right in front of us. Because a lot of times we miss opportunities because we wake up, oh, I got a long day ahead of myself. Oh, I got to do this and that. And when we drag along, what happens is, like I talked about earlier, is we start to tell ourselves that, oh, I don't want to do this. And because we don't want to do it, because we feel like we got to drag to do it, what happens is we end up not putting our best foot forward.
Right.
So the main thing that I would highlight is be patient with yourself. Be patient no matter what.
Why are you picking on me, man? Did my wife tell you to say that?
but it's with all of us. This is the reason why I got friends, myself, people that I've run into, that a lot of times I feel like I should be here, but I'm still here. Okay. And a lot of times, if we look, I said we have a minister, and I know you minister as well. One of the things that the Bible always shows me is there's a process to everything.
Process, yeah.
And if you're not willing to go through the growth process, even if you're trying to grow a tree, you have to be patient, because if you plant it and then you go back out and expect it to be a full tree tomorrow, you're deceiving yourself. So the second thing is that we can't deceive ourselves.
Wow.
So we have to be patient, and we have to not deceive ourselves by making us believe that we have to be somewhere that we don't.
And all of those things that you mentioned, because we the definition of mental health, person condition dealing with their psychological and emotional well-being, not being patient because I got to hurry up and get to $1 million. I got to hurry up and sell 5,000 books. I got to hurry up and, speak to a sellout crowd. That can cause a problem in our emotional well-being.
Yes.
Which by definition can be a problem with mental health.
Yes, because what happens is if I'm rushing, I feel a level of anxiety that comes over me. And if that level of anxiety stay on too long, it becomes stress. Right. And one of the main reasons why most men die, we feel like you die from pancreatic cancer and heart attacks and all this thing. The number one killer in men is stress.
Right.
But it comes from, I feel like I'm rushing to do something, and it's a level of anxiety that start to raise up on us, and we start to stress ourselves out.
My wife says, "Thank you, Wendell."
You're welcome.
She's talking about you getting on me about my patience. You ain't supposed to be ganging up here on my own show, man.
but it's true. I think it's true to all men, because we. Especially if you're a man that care. Let me not say all men, but if you're a man who really care about the people around you, you feel like it's certain things that you want to do for them. And in order to do these things, you feel like I have to be here in order to do that. So we put the pressure on ourselves to make sure that we're trying to get there fast, instead of let me make sure I'm taking the right steps to get there.
Yeah. Because
our job is just to water whatever it is that we're doing. Our job is not to make sure it grow. what happens is through the natural inclination of life, things will grow on its own. You don't have to rush a kid. You can try to rush a kid to 18. That don't make them 18. They still have to go through the process to become 18. You could try to rush a tree to grow. That don't make a tree grow. And that's the same thing with any other aspect of our lives. We can try to rush it, and that put the stress on us, but that doesn't help anything. But if we learn to be patient, we learn to realize this is a process. It's going to take time. We allow to take a little pressure off of ourselves, and it gives us the ability to relax.
Relax. That's going to lead me into my next question I was going to ask. How important, from your experience, Minister Steve, how important is it to have a release valve? You know what I'm saying? So, or like, on a steam, on a teapot, once it get to a certain level, it's, it's doing that. And, to help us keep from being Grandmaster Flash, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. And see, we get into that, the last part that he says after don't push me because I'm close to the edge, I'm trying not to lose my head. He says, ha, 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 ha. We live in ha, 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 ha. Because that means I'm almost there.
Yep.
That means if somebody don't come do something, either I'm going over the edge or you going over the edge. Ha, 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 ha. And so how important is it to have a release valve, Minister Steve, from your experience? How important is it to have that release valve before I get to ha, 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 ha?
It's almost like the most important part of all this, because that build up is real. That stress is real. Why do you think we have so much people with high blood pressure?
Okay.
Especially men, especially men, because we're holding that load, that stress is just right here all day. No matter you dropping the kids off at school, you going to the doctor, it's stress all day, and you're just waiting for it to just explode. Right. Now, what we're going to talk about, because I know you're going to ask us, what is these release valves? How do you see, when you got to think 4 steps ahead when you talk to Dr. Shigg, right?
We do.
Okay, well, my best buddy Vern was my outlet.
Okay.
Because I know I could trust him, and I know I can trust him with the truth back to me.
Okay.
You can't tell everybody what's going on because it's not for everybody, for one.
Right.
And for two, most people, here we go again with the weakness, they'll take your weakness, your sweetness as a sign of weakness.
Okay.
I'm not weak, dude. I'm heck of a strong. That's why I'm not blowing up right now. That's why I'm not. But without that pressure, every little thing, it just seems like an army of enemies just poking at you all day. If you ticklish, they're just ticking you. Whatever you don't like, your mind feels like that all day. It's no big catastrophe. It's little bitty things. Like Wendell said, and you've been holding together. Then guess where it comes out? At home. Because those who we care for the most, we love the most, and we usually hurt the most when we're hurt. So we need to release that pressure so we can know where to direct that pain, that hurt, that's misunderstanding. We got to have a place to put it, because if we don't have a place to put it, it usually ends up in the wrong direction, and you end up hurting somebody that you love the most because you don't understand what this pressure is. You don't understand why you're feeling like this, because you are the man of the house. You are the what happened. My thing was this: what happened? I thought I was so cool, so fly, so this, so that, all the answers. And then when it came down to being who I needed to be, I couldn't be him. That's the best way I can put it. I wasn't no good for nobody. Not good for myself, not good for my family, not good for my friends, because I couldn't talk to you because probably you wouldn't understand it, for one. And for two, I felt like people didn't care. So I had to wait till God put the people in front of me who cares. And now that I have that outlet, that's it. That every time I speak, I get stronger because we're always blessing each other. We're always blessing each other. When someone else says something, a conversation on you opening up, even if they're not with it, you're going to get some pertinent information from that person that's going to help you out. And the more I help me out, the more I can help out other people. But you have to have that outlet, because that's what's really driving the stress level and driving you to really not be yourself, is the stress. You can't think about, okay, I need to make these 3 moves. When it's stress, all you see is stress at the end of the first move. You can't even, the third move is right there. It's in grass. It's in hands reach. You can see it right there.
Right.
But the stress, and then I'm going to get just a little spiritual. It's like that with God. God is right there talking to us, giving us all the signals, what we should, what we shouldn't do. Our steps is ordered, and that stresses. And it pushes us further and further away till we want to blame God for our situation instead of figuring out what started the whole situation in the first place. But we want to blame God. At least I did. Why am I going through all this, God? Why am I going through this? You don't care about me either. So it was a long point in time in my life where I felt like nobody cared about me, including God. Because one of my mom's outlet was church, and they thought she was just such a dedicated member. And I seen it as, we're running from this situation right here. We're escaping. We're escaping. So every time the doors open, that's one place that we could go that he wouldn't say nothing and we were safe. But at the same time, it made me hate the church because I thought everybody should know what's going on. You guys talk to God all the time. God ain't telling you this is what's going on in my house. So from like 12 to 18, 19, the heck with God. He was there. I believed in him a little bit, but I didn't feel like he cared about me either.
Right. Oh, man.
That's why you need outlets. So now you have outlets. You have brothers that you can build because of what you went through. Everybody goes through something, some not so extreme, but everybody's going through something. And the older we get, we usually go up against the same things. Now, if I can go through this and make it through, you make it through and go get somebody else. You make it through, let's get somebody else. Now we're having big 15,000 men talking about the same thing, getting on one accord instead of you a punk, you not hard, you not this, you not that.
Right.
Yes, you are. You precious. God said that you're precious. And stop thinking you're not, because that's not a weak word. It's a word of strength. You're precious.
Oh, precious is not a weak word. Oh, my goodness.
God called you precious. Not me. God called you precious. Men, God called you precious.
Oh, man. That's my granddaughter's. I renamed. They mom and daddy named him one thing, but Papa named him something else. And I'm the only one that can call him that. And that's one of my granddaughter's names, Precious. But you just said precious is not a weak word. Oh, man. So my release, or I'm going to ask you yours, Wendell. Mr. Steve talked about, Vern, he talking to him, release.
And books, I'm sorry.
Books, yeah. And so mine is, I listen to old school music. And when I say old school, I'm talking about pre-83, because that's when all the best music came out. Or I don't care what y'all say. 1983 was the last year for real good music. and that, or I like to watch old, my daddy called them shoot 'em ups. It's a release valve for me, because most people don't believe it, but I'm pretty much an introvert. And so, and Wendell, that's a contradiction. A motivational speaker that's an introvert, that's a contradiction in terms,
It
is. But that helps me woosah. So your release, Wendell, what is your release? What do you do when you just want to, you want to release, you want to chill, you don't want to really think about anything, all of those things?
I play dominoes. I like playing dominoes. I got a domino app, and it gives me a chance to not think about nothing. Focus on the game, focus on how to try to win that game, and it takes the stress or the pressure of everything else that's going on in my life away. I also pray. And a lot of times growing up, I used to pray, but I just like Minister Steve talked about, I didn't believe God was listening. So I felt like it was a time where I could go talk to myself and just get some stuff off. But over time, like you said, I realized that looking back at my life, it was certain things that I was like, why did I have to go through that? I'm asking God these questions, not knowing in the moment he was revealing the answer. I just wasn't mature enough to take the answer.
Woo! Oh
So,
my goodness.
Because
is that in the book window? What you just said, is that in the book? If it's not, you got another book to write.
Yeah, so I wasn't mature enough to take what God was trying to show me at the time, because I had my own blinders up. I want you to do it this way. God, why is it not happening like this? So because of that, this what made me, like you said, push away from the church. But I still talk to God because I felt like it was a chance where I could talk to somebody. I don't got to worry about nobody judging me. I don't got to worry about nobody talking bad about me after this, because I was very insecure. I was very, like I said, I didn't believe in myself. So I didn't want nobody to think I was dumb. I didn't want nobody to think I was stupid. So I would go talk to God about it. And I still take that same thing today. And I have friends now that I talk to about certain things that's going on in my life. Right. But a lot of times I indirectly tell them. It's like we're having a conversation, and next thing you know, it's some stuff, and we're in a full conversation, and I got to get a lot of stuff off my chest. But I think it's a variety of things for me. So
okay, and you may have answered this, but okay, you're a speaker and a writer. I'm a speaker and a writer. Who motivates the motivator so that we won't go over the edge, so that we won't live in because we're motivating, we're putting books out, we're speaking to crowds, helping go after goals, live your dream, rah rah. But who cares for the caregiver? How do you deal with that? How do you reconcile that? Because I know sometimes you, I don't know about you, but I thought, like when my wife got sick, I'm doing all the things that I'm supposed to do and not looking for any credit, because, that's what I'm supposed to do. But at some point, and I even thought this and felt guilty for thinking this, people were calling, how's Cheryl doing? How's Cheryl doing? Cheryl's fine. Anybody asking how I'm doing? I thought about that, and then I felt guilty for thinking that. So, who helps the helper? Who helps the motivator? Who helps you so that we will have good mental health? How have you dealt with that?
One of the things that helped me is I'm big on watching other people succeed. Okay. I enjoy it. I try to find any show where people are getting uplifted or people are going from one stage of their lives to another. And a lot of times I try to hold it in. I don't need everybody to see me crying, but it tears me up
men don't cry.
Huh?
Men don't cry.
Men don't cry, but men cry.
Okay, I got you.
We just learn to cry inside.
That's part of our problem, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I take that. My wife, like I said, but her motivation is different. It ain't the rah rah, like let's get up and win the world. It's more of having other ways of going about it. So whatever, I think there's a variety of things, and I keep using variety of things because for me it's not just one thing. Like I can't just, sometimes I get on YouTube, hear an inspirational, hear a pastor preach, hear something, and I feel motivated and encouraged. And that sometimes I can hear that's a similar message, and it does absolutely nothing for me.
Right.
So at each moment, sometimes it's music. I can listen to some music that inspired me and encouraged me. So depending on where I am, and that's why I would want to encourage people to be open to getting it from anywhere.
Okay. So it doesn't matter if you drown, it doesn't matter who delivers you, who the lifeguard is, as long as they can swim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's good. But you're 100% right.
Yeah. I love that. And like you said,
because
go ahead.
Because as motivational speakers, what are not just motivate, but as humans, especially men, we end up getting a hole in our boat And because we don't know how to fix it, we'll hide it.
Oh,
but what I've come to understand is, like you said, I don't care where the help comes from. If I don't receive it, I don't get it.
Right.
So even if it's from a person that I disagree with or I dislike, if it's help, it's help.
It's help.
And that's one of the biggest things I had to learn. I'm going over time, so I got to shut this down. This is so good. One of the biggest things that I'm still getting better at it. I don't like to ask for help. And so I don't like to ask for help because
help hurts.
Help hurts. If I have to ask for help, that means, and you help me, Wendell, that means, in my mind, that means I'm indebted to you and I owe you. And I don't like to owe people stuff.
But that comes culturally. Culturally, we've been taught that if someone does something for you, you owe them something.
Exactly.
Instead of, because that person decided to do something for me, it's because they wanted to do it, not because I owe them.
And so that's in my head, and it's not in their head. And so because I couldn't reciprocate, there was a time when, okay, I couldn't reciprocate financially. I can do a little something now, but that's in my head. And also, I don't like to ask people for help. I'm getting better because when I want something, I want it when I want it and the way I want it. And if you're asking people for the help, they may know how to do it better than you, or they might not have time to do it Saturday at 5 o'clock. And that's when I need it done or want it done. And so, but having gotten much better than that, and again, I just getting the revelation that can be a factor in stress, because I'm stressing out because, well, it can be problematic because, okay, I need it done by Saturday. They can't do it, or I'm going to have to do this for them, or how am I going to fix it? And having grown to the point where not really being bothered by certain things, if I know how to do it, do it. If I can't do it, call somebody that can do it. There's a couple people that I can call, and then if it can't be done, okay, I'm going to cry, blow my nose, and then move on because it can't be done. Stop worrying, because I haven't worried about anything in about 15 years. But I used to worry about a lot of stuff, especially finance, but I don't worry about too much stuff now. And that helps me not going into a mental issue or mental problem. And so we have to be able to release, we have to be able to do those things. I want to close this out because I can't hold you guys too long, and I'm glad, I'm really helping, glad we've helped some people. Someone wrote, but you got credit, you have already paid for it, and what you didn't pay, Jesus paid for it. Oh, she went deep, huh? We were talking about the help. Want to just thank you, because we talked about, I wanted to make sure people understood, you got to talk to somebody, because Minister Steve talked about talking to somebody, and Wendell talked about having people that you can share things with, and also the cracked mirror, not focusing on, you got to put these pieces in the way that looks, but that's the mirror, that's not you. And then you thought, I heard you say a couple of times, because of your dyslexia, you thought you were such and such a way. We put these stigmas on ourselves, okay? And so, Mr. Steve, take 2 minutes, help somebody, help a brother in Chicago, a brother in wherever watching this. Take 2 minutes and help them with some cures, some solutions, just something concerning mental health. And Wendell, you do the same thing, and then promote your speaking and your book. So, Minister Steve.
Okay, fellas, check this out, man. First of all, we need to stop the trying to fix it with a bottle, with a blunt, with a female. We get more money. That's not going to fix it. It's like a void. The void can only be fixed by professionalism, you speaking it out to somebody, you figuring out the root, you getting it up out of yourself, and prayer. Jesus is right there waiting for you to give it to him so he can help you get rid of whatever it is. He waiting. Like we were saying at church, you believe in it and you believe in, but have you asked God? Men, ask God, whatever this is, show me what it is. And after you show me how to fix it. Show me how to get the help. Show me how, because all that stuff is making it worse and worse and worse. First, you just had something that happened to you when you were 11 problem. Now you're an alcoholic.
Ah.
Now you were, and we adding all that together. And every time we stop, we have to start all over again. It's like a course. You smart guys over there, it's like a course. Say you were going to school, something happened in your life and you had to drop out and you have to come back. You was in the middle of a course. In order to get that degree, you're still going to have to pass that course. And that's how we're living life. We still have courses to pass. You can't skip that course. You still gotta, it's prerequisites to get peace. It's prerequisites to get peace. And right now I'm living the most peace I ever had in my life is now because I'm obedient to God, because I'm releasing, and because I stopped all the self-medication that none of them God was pleased with, in order for me to be able to help somebody out. Guys, listen to me. Nothing else matters but your peace, your God, your peace, and your family. That's it. Once we get that together, we can take over the community. We can take over the world. But just let's fix this first. Recognize, realize, speak to yourself, and go get some help, please. I'm praying that you do.
Wow. Prerequisite to peace. That's either the first chapter or the name of the book. Oh,
okay, so I'll write it down.
One of the things that I want to share is perspective drives performance. The way we view something will always dictate how we do something.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see something as a problem, it will always manifest and we will deal with it as if it's a problem. So if someone is trying to reach out to you, that's trying to talk to you, that's trying to help you, don't think about it as this is a time someone is trying to attack me, but this is an opportunity for somebody to help me. It's one thing to look at it as something as a problem, and it's another person that could look at the same thing and see it as an opportunity. So it's always important to watch how we see something.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, we could see a tree and it looks just like a tree, but someone else can see it as an opportunity to build more. And we can take our same mental health issues, we could take the things that we deal with in our lives as an opportunity to help someone else.
Amen.
As an opportunity. Perspective drives performance. I love it. I love it. So talk to us about the book, Wendell.
The book is called Success Has a Name. And I'll give you just a little bit of the beginning. Your name is success. You are the driving force behind the life you will live.
Wow.
And a lot of times we feel like our desire for something automatically pushes us in the perspective of having something, but it's not. It's our ability to focus and lock in on the thing, because we can develop into anything that we want to be. A bird can only be a bird. A chicken can only be a chicken. A dog can only be a dog. But it's us as humans, we can decide what we become. We can decide if we become a couch potato. Do we become an active worker? We become a business owner, a doctor. We have the choices to determine what we become. If we learn to plan, we can envision what we want the thing to look like. And then if we're willing to put the work in, there's nothing in this world that can stop us from having whatever it is that we want.
Powerful. Success Has a Name. So when does it drop?
Success Has a Name. It should be finished by the end of this month. And I'm looking to drop it on my birthday, September 12th.
Okay, so release date, September the 12th.
Yes.
Okay, and so when will, how can people contact you to get an update, to get a copy of the book, or if they want to follow you, they want to hear you speak, or have you come speak, how can they reach you?
You can on Instagram and TikTok. You could follow me at M Wendell Jones. That's IAMWENDELLJONES. That's I Am Wendell Jones.
So that's your IG and your TikTok.
And on Facebook, you just type in Wendell Jones. I know there's a couple Wendell Jones out there, but if you look for Wendell Jones in LA, I'm the person that'll pop up.
All right. And quickly tell us why we have to get through our mental things. Why about our greatness? Give us the ending about our greatness, Wendell.
Okay, one of the things that I try to tell people, you don't have to get through anything. But what's important is because you decide to want to do it, it becomes important to you. We only do the things in life that become important to us. Like if I told you there was $1 million in New York, if that $1 million is important to you, if you don't gotta have any money, you don't gotta know anybody, you'll start walking down the street talking to people, asking them for you can do whatever it takes to get to New York. And that's the same way when we realize that we have something going on with us. We have to be willing to reach out to people that we know that could possibly help us. That $1 million is more in getting our mental health together is more important than $1 million.
Right.
Because you have millionaires who jump off bridges because mentally they haven't dealt with some issues that's going on. So always remember, being alive and being in your right mind is more important than anything else that you could ever have.
Give us the tagline, how you close your videos.
The way I close my videos is you have greatness in you and you better start acting like it.
Love it. Wendell Jones, follow him. Minister Steve Hudai, thank you so much, sir. I greatly appreciate it. And to all of the brothers, these gentlemen have talked to you about some of their issues, mental issues, things that could mess with our psychological and emotional well-being. Minister Hudai talked about his, Brother Wendell Jones talked about his dyslexia. I grew up with low self-esteem, didn't like myself till I got to 12 years old, still have some low self-esteem issues. All of those things can fuel mental health issues. Never been chronically diagnosed with mental health issues, but if you ask some of the people that have known me, they tell you I got mental issues, but they may mean something else. But talk to somebody. Brothers, you don't have to be great at everything. Just be great at being you.
That's it.
You don't have to be great at everything. Be great at being you. And if you don't sing like everybody else, you don't jump as high as everybody else, you don't talk like everybody else, you fill in the blank like everybody else, that's okay. You know why? Because you ain't everybody else. You bad English, but good theology, as Bishop says. You ain't everybody else. You is you. So understand. Release the pressure. Sing, watch a movie, go roller skating, take a drive, swim. Release the pressure. Now, one of the fellas said it tonight. We put more pressure on ourselves than other people do. Other people may put some pressure on us, but we don't have to let it be. We don't have to be what they say we are. And so talk to somebody. Yes, pray about it, but talk to somebody. Yes, release it, but talk to somebody before you get to the ha. Suicide takes away so many dreams, so many possibilities. If you're thinking that right now, don't do it. You're better than that. There's more in you. If that's your thought right now, call somebody. Call 911. Call your brother. Call the man down the street. Call somebody. You have greatness in you, as Wendell said.
Greatness.
Start acting like it. And want you to know that greatness, and this is copyrighted so nobody can steal it. So greatness is not your destination. It's your transportation. So Stay encouraged. You're better than that. You're worth it. You are already great. Already great. And so want you to stay encouraged. Want you to know that, yes, times may be tough, but guess what? You are too. Stay encouraged. Thank you for watching. You want to follow me? You can follow me on Instagram at EncourageMan, the letter N, EncourageMan. You can follow me on Twitter, same place, EncourageMan, the letter N, EncourageMan. Facebook, Your Encouragement, or my personal Facebook, Dwayne Shigg, or you can follow me on YouTube, Dwayne Shigg, Encouragement with Dwayne Shigg, that's MINT. Talk about it. You can see some of our other shows, and I encourage you to watch all of our shows on mental health. This is our third one. We have one more next week. So encourage you, check it out. Get the help you need because you have greatness in you. Start acting like it. And times are tough, but you are too. Hold on, fellas. Don't log out. You, everybody watching, stay encouraged. Stay encouraged. Stay encouraged. Be blessed. God bless you.